Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board the Bristol Packets Tower Bell. We are departed on our 45-minute tour across Bristol City Docks on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon that we're having. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Will, I'm the skipper. Eli is the crew member on board today. We're going to be taking care of you for the next 3/4 of an hour as we traverse Bristol City Docks, learning all about the history of the area around us and observing all of the happenings of the modern era. Just before we get to that fun stuff, I'm required by law to remind you that this is a commercially licensed passenger vessel. As such, we carry life-saving apparatus in the very unlikely event of an emergency, and that includes life rings around the outside of the boat. There are 25 of those, each can support 2 people in the water. 103 life jackets are split between the big red box at the front and the green lidded box at the back. We have 2 life rafts with a combined capacity of 95. There are 7 fire extinguishers on this boat, and there is a first aid kit. Then we also have 2 toilets. They are behind the wheelhouse in the middle of the boat, down a small set of stairs. And on the aft deck, it's the back of the boat, we also have a bar. Soft drinks and alcoholic beverages can be purchased throughout the trip. Any problems or questions that you have, please speak to a member of staff as soon as you like. It's a perfect day for a boat trip really, not just because of the great weather, but also midweek at this time tends to be a little bit less traffic on the water, so we'll manage to get around without too many things getting in our way. And we're travelling around Bristol City Docks, whose history stretches back over 1,000 years. For most of which time Bristol was a trading port, so a very different environment to the one which we travel through today. Bristol was a very successful trading port for most of its history, at some points even considered the second city of England after London. But about 200 years ago, Bristol's fate changed when someone had the great idea of making a boat out of metal, at which point it was proven that boats could be built much bigger than had ever previously been thought. And as technologies changed and boats got bigger, Bristol's popularity faded. And by 1975, we had to shut our docks completely to commercial traffic because we'd lost out a lot of our work to other places. So the last 50 years we've spent regenerating the docks, turning it from what ended up being quite a run-down, polluted dockland into what I think we can all safely agree is a leisurely paradise today. There are echoes of Bristol's industrial past scattered around the docks, mixed in with the modern elements of Bristol Harbour today. And there's plenty of things to point out along the way. Of course, at first Bristol wasn't quite sure what it wanted to do with the docks in the middle of its city. Believe it or not, there were plans drawn up at the time to fill in a large section of the docks with concrete and let the M32 motorway run straight through the city, which I'm sure you'll agree is a terrible idea now that we're here in the 21st century. But at the time, Bristol was really at a loss. And it was really through the celebration of Bristol's waterways, thanks to things like the Festival of the Sea, or Bristol's Harbour Festival, as we now call it today, which happened just last weekend, that helped to prove to the powers that be that Bristol City Docks wasn't just going to be a place that was only able to ship and manufacture goods, but also a place for people to live in and enjoy. And so much enjoyment now that even people with super yachts want to be here. Check out this boat coming up on the right hand side, Misconduct, which was built in the 1990s in Florida. It's been here in Bristol since 2023, and it's got a helicopter on it, which is obviously quite useful when you want to pop to the shops. I'm afraid I'm going to break some hearts probably here. The helicopter doesn't actually work, and it hasn't done so for over a decade. It's what you might call a display copter. But this is what £22 million of boat gets you guys. maybe do with a bit of a clean actually, looking at it.
Your little camera working on its stand behind you.
Yes. Going quite far back in Bristol's history now, there's this large wooden vessel coming up on our right hand side. You might have seen it travelling around the docks already today. It's called the Matthew. It's a replica of a vessel that set sail from Bristol in 1497, although this replica was built to celebrate 500 years of the original in 1997. Now interestingly, we don't actually know that much about what the original ship looked like. The only things we know about the original ship are its weight and its length. Not much to go on when you're trying to replicate something. So the ship that we see here on the right hand side is our best guess based on what we know about shipping in Europe at the time. Of course, the original, very famously captained by a Venetian sailor and explorer named Giovanni Caboto, came here to Bristol looking for the best ship and crew he could find. When he got here, very quickly realised none of the locals could say his name proper, so he changed it from Giovanni Caboto to John Cabot. He then attempted to sail westward across the Atlantic, looking for a trade route to China, a little bit lost on the way, ended up bumping into a small patch of land we now call Canada, and became one of the first documented Europeans of his time to touch the Americas. The discovery of what they call the New World for Europe and for Bristol brought many new trade opportunities, which is why Cabot is such a widely celebrated name here in the city. This is Bristol's museum, the M Shed, over here to the right hand side. It's all about Bristol, and they've done a wonderful job of retaining the front as though it's still an industrial dock from the 1950s, where so much of the rest of the harbour has changed. The building itself is an original transit shed for the storage of goods. They've got the lovely electric travelling cranes outside, as well as a selection of boats which all used to operate in and around Bristol in the 20th century, including the Balmoral, which was built in Southampton in 1949. It's this large white and black ferry here with the yellow line running around. Although it was built as a ferry to take people to the Isle of Wight, it actually ended up working in a whole number of different guises, most famously as a coastal cruiser in the times before very cheap airline travel, the 60s and 70s. And you could get on board a boat like this and go to a lovely exotic location like Swansea or Ilfracombe, maybe the Hebrides if you were really lucky. Of course, these kinds of ships much further and fewer between now. The Balmoral is open on most weekends. They put bars on in the they put bands on rather in the saloon, and they have the bar open. They're trying to raise money, of course, to have her fixed up to go back out to sea again. But that's a slow process with a ship of that size and age. You can check out their website, MV Balmoral. Learn more about the ongoing restoration and the different activities they have on a weekly basis. Great view of the M Shed as we turn around here, back over on our left hand side. You get to take in the electric travelling cranes installed by Stoddart and Pitt in 1951. Cranes 29 through 31 can lift up to 3 tonnes each. Crane 32 can lift 9 tonnes. These were goods. Cranes used for lifting goods off of boats and onto trains, into transit sheds, and they're set into railway tracks which allow them to move up and down the quayside.
Took down the stage at Harbour Festival, just put big on it.
The area that we're heading into now is called St Augustine's Reach, and it's entirely man-made. So this was all marshland before Bristolians got here. And then in the 13th century, by that time Bristol was already a really successful and thriving port, so much so that they'd run out of space to store more boats. So King Henry III, in the year 1240, commissioned this first ever harbour extension to be dug by hand out of marshland. It took them 7 years to complete. But it was a very popular place for shipping because it was away from the tidal flow of the river. And it's said that the ships were so tightly packed in here that the masts sort of built up together looked like a forest of rigging. I think it would have been quite amazing to see. It's very busy today too, less so for shipping and trading, more so for the consumption of lots and lots of alcoholic beverages, which are serviced by the bars and restaurants over to our left-hand side. And these buildings, although not original, are meant to be modelled on the transit sheds and warehouses which would have existed along this particular stretch, known for taking in the goods for big international ships which visited Bristol.
Steps.
The water flowing on.
No, that's all switched off now.
They never have it on the shore.
No, no, it's all stopped. It's all finished.
What about with the water they buy with the back over there? That working?
Water over the back of there.
Fountains.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they were. These ones don't. It's all switched off and decommissioned.
You know,
they've done away with some of the fountains. Yeah.
If we'd been doing this trip hundreds of years ago, we would have been able to go much further into Bristol on the water than we can do today. That's because when Bristolians created this channel, it was initially much longer, and they linked it up with the River Frome, which used to flow east through Bristol towards us. But then over the course of hundreds of years, Bristolians covered over those waterways to create the city centre that we see in front of us today. And as the words covered over suggest, the water still runs through Bristol, it just does so now underground. So most Bristolians probably walk over the Frome every single day, multiple times without realising. It goes underground through culverts over on our left-hand side, travels underneath what is the old tramway centre over to our left, down Rupert Street, underneath Broadmead, through Cabot Circus, and then eventually comes overground again between Tesco and IKEA next to the M32. Although technically navigable, these waterways aren't strictly designed for human travel. We require a much smaller boat than the one we're on, definitely a torch, and nerves of steel to cope with the mutant rats, pigeons and spiders and whatever else has been left down there forgotten about. People have done it though, strapped with GoPros, and they've put all of that evidence on YouTube, so you can explore Bristol's subterranean waterways on the internet.
There's a guy I follow, he does a lot of that sort of thing, but I've not seen a video from him doing it, but he may well have done one.
filming someone hold their face and just tracks it. And it's so stupid like this. Yeah, get more tech. Yeah, I want to get one from today around raves. It's not really call it raves, but it's just I put it up on YouTube to get that's one of my favourite features. Yeah, you should like sick. Yeah. That'd be great for boat trips actually. Just like do sick time lapses and stuff for boat trips. And it's got its own tanks, two digital far away quality. I've got its own two back there's loads of things that filters and all sorts of things you get. There's loads of stuff in the settings that I don't make using more or less in that patch.
On the right hand side, after we exit the bridge here, that little corner there, rather unassuming, that's the location where the statue of a man named Edward Colston was dropped into Bristol City docks during anti-racism protests in 2020. Edward Colston was a merchant trader from Bristol, but spent most of his time in London as a Member of Parliament, and his family successfully lobbied Parliament to help break up the London monopoly on the transatlantic slave trade, which ended up bringing it here to Bristol, after which over 2,100 ships were fitted out by Bristol merchants capable of doing these transatlantic voyages, taking cargo from Bristol to western parts of continental Africa, trading the cargo for enslaved human beings, packed back onto the ships in brutal conditions, taken across to plantations and farms in the Americas and the Caribbean. The journey's so bad that a third of people didn't survive, and those that did, forced to work to death on these plantations and farms. And in return, Bristol merchants would receive things like sugarcane and tobacco, which could be traded back into Bristol, generating enormous wealth for the city. It's thought that Bristol ships alone were responsible for displacing about 900,000 people. The statue of Edward Colston was retrieved 3 days after it went into the water, and is now on display at the M Shed Museum in front of us. So on top of all the other fantastic exhibits about Bristol and its history, you can go there to see the statue and learn a lot more about Bristol's history with the trading of human lives.
The other thing you can do with that is you can connect your mobile phone. You can use your screen on your phone to view.
Oh wow, as in real time?
Yes, in real time.
Oh, we've got to look at the screen.
The screen on there is pretty small and my eyesight's far from perfect, so
The quality's mental.
yeah. But you get software that you can download where you can basic editing and things as well.
I've been thinking about getting it.
Yeah, the second person in the last 2 days that has said so.
Yeah. That's so different. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? Oh, actually, I have a feeling it's something
So they've got a stage, haven't they?
Yeah.
So this on the right here is a big concert they're setting up. I'm pretty sure it's a dance music event called Hospitality, but I'm not entirely sure. The space in which it's in is called the Lloyd's Amphitheatre, and it was given to Bristol by Lloyd's Bank as a public use space when they built Cannon's House, which is the building in the background there. Cannon's House was built in 1991 on the site of a former bonded warehouse in a time when confidence in the docks was quite low, so you had this relatively reputable business investing millions of pounds in the docks, and that really helped to encourage other business to activate in this area. So a large part of the regeneration after the 90s is actually sort of was seeded by the building of Cannon's House here. And they put on all sorts of events there, not just ticketed ones, free festivals, sporting events, great food festivals. There's one which is very popular called Wing Fest, which will be taking place later this year, and it's the UK's largest chicken wing eating festival. They get through about 10,000 wings over 2 days.